Yes, sir. Oh, I'm not even showing the bottle label. All right. So, welcome back to Shed Talk. This is a huge episode. This is on so many levels. But I just want to start this by showing this because it's leaking or it's condensating. But I went to Trader Joe's. We're just going right into it. No need for the intros. This is the intro. We went to Trader Joe's yesterday. So my cousin, not one of the ones I live with, who by the way they still don't know about this, my cousin told me last week we were playing some Xbox together, and he said he was drinking some pumpkin spice Chardonnay or pumpkin spice wine from Trader Joe's. Now, me, as you could tell, you could probably tell, I'm not a Trader Joe's regular. I walked in there yesterday after work, and they knew immediately after play. They knew immediately when I walked in there that I was out of place. Like I looked out of place. They knew I didn't belong there. There were rumblings all throughout the store when I was walking around. Like people just didn't know why I was there. You know what I mean? Rightfully so. You know, there's people they're like the drug dogs at the canine units, the drug dogs that sniff out the bombs. Yeah, they're like that. When I walked and they're like, something's off here. Something's off with that guy, and they're right. You know, something was off. I shouldn't have been there. However, I said I was gonna try that, so I went there looking for the pumpkin spice wine, pumpkin spice something. I don't know, pumpkin spice alcohol, and unfortunately I didn't find it. I couldn't find it. They didn't have it there. And I was about to give up. I was about to leave and just take that walk of shame out of the store when you have nothing. And they're like, really? This dude's actually walking out of here with nothing. Like, that's offensive to some people. But I found this caught my eye. It was on an end cap. It was only $4.49 or $4.99 for the bottle. So it's Oliver Winery apple pie. Let's see if I can get this. Yep, you guys probably can't even read that, but that's fine. Fresh pressed apple wine with vanilla notes. So yeah, I don't know anything about wine. I looked at this bottle and it's 9%. I think it said 9% alcohol. No, 8.3% alcohol ABV. So a little bit more. But then I also saw this when I was walking out, and this really intrigued me. It is Daughters. That's the brand name. Daughters Three Brewing or Three Daughters Brewing. Hey Andy, let's use some context clues right there. Three Daughters Brewing. It is retro chill vodka-soda rocket pop. Look at that. Now, I don't even care how this tastes. It was a 4-pack for $10. So expectations are sky high. Excitement is through the roof. The shed can't even contain it right now. I believe this one is 9%, maybe. Well, I don't know where I'm getting the 9% from. No, this one's 4.8%. I'm just spewing lies. I didn't prepare for this episode, but this one's 4.8%. But look, it's sugar free, no sugar. Maybe no sugar added. Maybe that's what it is. No, zero sugar, 99 calories. I'm excited, man. Just from the art of the can alone, the can art alone, 10 out of 10. I don't even care how it tastes at this point. I'm going to be disappointed if it tastes bad after wasting that kind of can art, that can art. But we've got this. We're going to try both. So I think I'm more excited for the Rocket Pop, clearly, because I'm not a wine guy. But I think we're going to try the wine first, get out of the way. I don't really smell anything apple pie. Nope, I lied. Second sniff. The sniff test, I got the apple, like the apple pie. Wow, that smells really good. Okay, now I'm officially excited for this. No glass. We don't need a glass. I've got the Rocket Pop. I've got the wine. I've got a cup of water here. I spilled half of it, actually, when I was opening the shed up because a lizard was on the top of the door and he came flying down at me. Really rude of him. He could have just asked if he could come in to the shed and I would have said, yeah, just don't mess with me. I won't mess with you. So that scared me and I got to get a refill at some point. So we're going to be taking some breaks. But up first, the apple pie wine. So Oliver's Winery. Oliver, I know you're watching. Here we go. Ooh, wait a minute. Some of the apple pie got stuck in my little mustache. Oh no. Oh, oh dear. I I have some news. I really like this. I So to preface this, I'm not a big wine drinker, as I just stated. I just don't like it. I don't like the taste of it. I'm not a fan of it. My ex girlfriend, I would go over to her parents for dinner just to hang out sometimes, and I say for dinner or the holidays and stuff. And they love drinking. They love that. But they would always, whenever we'd have the fancy dinner, an actual dinner, they would do red wine. We'd all have red wine, and I can't be a bad house guest. I can't be, you know what I mean? Like I can't be a bad dinner guest either. and just say, hey, no, I'll hold off on the red wine. I'm gonna go grab a Mick Ultra out of the fridge. No, idiot. I had some kind of class, but I would try my hardest to finish that glass of wine as fast as possible. Not even to get to the next glass, just so I could just empty that one. I didn't like it. I just get it out of my face. No disrespect to you guys. I appreciate the hospitality. I appreciate the food. I appreciate the wine. Not a fan. I don't like the taste of normal, I guess you could say, wine. Sweet wine, I could get on board with because I'm a little sweet guy. Sorry, I gotta edit that out. That was terrible. This, though, this is dangerous. I could drink this entire bottle. We got a lot of calories left in the day, and I was planning on just having like a glass portion, serving size of this, and maybe not even liking it that much, but really liking the Rocket Pops. This is dangerous stuff. This, you don't even taste. It doesn't even taste like alcohol. You get, I will say it doesn't taste like, you get the apple pie and the aftertaste, I think, a little bit. Look at this little wine connoisseur, Andy. Shut up, you idiot. Drink the wine. Shut up and drink. But I will say, you actually, like, you get it in that aftertaste. When you're swallowing your wine, you get it a lot there. That's dangerous. I'm going to have to give that an 8.5 out of 10. Pleasantly surprised. I think we're just going to go ahead and go for the Rocket Pop as well, because I'm probably losing the audience as we speak. But Rocket Pop, 4.8%, zero sugar. Ooh, it's like pink, or the liquid is pinkish. Some of it, I can't even see it on the camera. Whatever, dude. All right, let's do this. First sip. Dang, dude. Damn. I know how to pick some alcohol, dude. Wow. So, to preface, this is zero sugar, so don't expect... So you know how, like, Twisted Teas taste really sweet? Also, the Mountain Dews. If you've ever had the Mountain Dew hard seltzers, how every sip is really sweet, don't expect that with this. This is... It's kind of like that wine in terms of, like I said, you get it in the aftertaste. Like, you really... Again, this does not taste like alcohol whatsoever. None. This literally tastes like an energy drink, or just, you know, something along those lines. It literally it does not taste like any alcohol whatsoever. This was a $4 pack for $10. I'm already drunk, clearly, but it's 12 ounces, so just a regular can. And honest to God, I could probably bring this into work and everyone would just think, "Oh, look, Andy's got the new Celsius. What a freaking nerd." Nope, I'm getting hammered. Not really. I will say, I would like it to be a little bit sweeter. If I'm buying something that is advertised as Rocket Pop, I think I'd want it to be a little more prominently Rocket Pop flavored. You still get the Rocket Pop flavor, don't get me wrong. That's not just a plain, you know, seltzer, whatever that is I'm drinking. Don't get me wrong on that, no. But I think I would like for it to be a little more... like a little more boom, punch in the mouth, like when you're drinking. I would prefer that, but that's fine. You know, that's fine. But the wine, we're giving 8.5. That I'm gonna give a 7.5, 8 out of 10. And that's not even like, you know, like, it was okay. No, that's really freaking good. Let me know in the comments, you know, that the hot dog challenge video, somehow it just blew up, man. We got over 300 views on that, double-digit likes. I got my guy Pedro, who bless his heart, I had never seen him viewing the videos before. I don't even know if he is. He left me some comments and gave me some suggestions on what other food challenges to do, maybe going forward, maybe incorporate that into my normal content. We'll take that note. I will say, if I'm going to do that with the new, you know, the more food content, maybe some food challenges, I'm going to have to really get back on my game of running, working out, just doing stuff to get more active. So I will need you guys to hold me accountable to that, especially if we're going to do this stuff going forward. But to that point, I was going to say, maybe we could make this a little tradition. Maybe once a week or once every other week, we go to Trader Joe's or somewhere. You guys give me a suggestion. I'll go grab some cider, some IPA. I don't really like IPAs, though. Don't suggest IPAs, please. Don't suggest those. But just try and random alcohol, because why the hell not, man? This is Shed Talk. We do what we want, man. We're not sponsored by anyone. We're not owned by anybody. Like, let's do it, man. Let's have some fun. Time to branch out. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, that was officially the intro. Very long intro, but I think very entertaining. I wanted to say thank you. We officially reached 10 subscribers, which is awesome. I don't care if you guys are making fun of me for celebrating that. 10 subscribers is freaking sick. I wish I could see individually who on that list it is. Like, I wish I could see the individual subs. I can't. I don't think you're able to, unfortunately. And if you are, I haven't been able to find it because I'm an idiot. But thank you to each and every one of you that have subscribed. And even if you're just watching or listening, however you're consuming the content, thank you. This is awesome. We'll see where we can take this. That last video was crazy. I know we surpassed like 300 views. I'm fully expecting to go back to like 5 on this one, and that's fine. I think I need to maybe commit to actually making edits of these long form videos, because the videos just keep getting longer and longer. It feels like, I keep getting like 45 minutes to an hour. Last week's was an hour and a half. Clearly this one might go long as well. Who knows? But I honestly, I had this in my notes. I can't lie. If someone would have told me maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, 6 months ago, if someone would have told me that I'd be turning 26 in 2 days, and I was sitting here in this random-ass shed drinking Trader Joe's apple pie wine and a Rocket Pop vodka-soda, whilst also living with my cousins, I probably would have slapped you in the face. Actually, I wouldn't. I'm a pacifist. I probably would have gave you the most bewildered, dumbfounded look and said, did I somehow, along the way, post-college, did I somehow pick up crack cocaine? Or, did I pick up doing some hard drug, some fent, or, the crack pipe? Clearly, that story I talked to you guys about how I got that scam call about my oxy waiting for me at the Mexican border. Clearly, in this universe, that got through the border, and the other illicit drugs that were in that package, clearly that got through, and I got hooked on them, because I would not have expected this at all. And on top of all that, to have a new talk show with 10 subscribers, had a hot dog challenge go for 300 views, and I got random people commenting, which I love. And I would have honestly assumed I was on drugs. I don't know. That's insane. Maybe it was all a dream, because this is crazy. I don't know. I don't even know how I pulled the trigger to start this thing, to be honest with you. I still like shooting the shit in the shed better as the name, but to each their own. I know it doesn't really roll off the tongue that well. But here we are. Wow, that was really good. Maybe I should get a glass for that wine bottle, because if I just keep, barehanding it, just going straight from the source, it might be finished by the end of this episode, and the end of this episode might not see the end of the day, might not see the light of day, because I'll be too drunk. That's fine. We have a busy schedule, a loaded agenda. Like I mentioned last episode, not the hot dog challenge, our last official episode, I mentioned we are leaving jam-packed in the dust. I went into detail on that. We're not referring to our episodes as that. And I'm going to try to not refer to anything in my life as jam-packed anymore, because it doesn't make sense. And we ridicule it now. Not really. Internally, we will ridicule it. But moving on, it's a very busy agenda. We've got... I don't want to go another hour and a half, 2 hours last week like I did last week, because I feel like I lost you guys and it just got really boring. And I don't know how much time I have before my cousins get home, I'm still trying to keep it a secret. But I do want to touch on what happened last weekend in football, in the world of football, maybe the baseball. I'm watching the Dodgers-Brewers right now, Game 3. It's tied 1-1, bottom of the second. It's back in LA now, or the series is in LA now. It was in Milwaukee for the first 2 games. And the Dodgers took both of them. I will say, Blake Snell pitched a masterclass, 8 innings, 8 shutout, 10 Ks, I think. And then Yamamoto followed him up the next day. Somehow you won up 8 shutout in the playoffs in the NLCS on the road. And somehow you won up that and go complete game, win, 1 run, 111 pitches. It's crazy. I mean, these guys starting a new race war. Not really. That's terrible. Starting a new culture war. How about that? Booyah! We're canceled. Just got the 10 subs too. We're already canceled. But I want to touch on all that. I do. Damn it, I have the picture, so when I'm recording, I have a little picture when I switch tabs out of the recording website, and I have it in there, and sometimes it just goes away randomly, so I can't see how I look, and that's fine. It is what it is. You just gotta trust the process. That's fine. But let's talk about this hot dog video for a second. As you are aware, I would assume if you're listening to this episode, you probably saw the hot dog episode. I tried a hot dog challenge last weekend, and I was really confident that I could get to 10. I really felt in my heart of hearts, deep in my soul, that I could get to double-digit dogs. And I was proven wrong. I was. I'll be the first to admit it. I was a dumb idiot. I ate with my heart. No, I ate with my head, not my heart, or is it opposite? Ate with your heart, not my head. I think it was I ate with my heart, not my head. No, I ate with my heart, not my. I ate with my head, not my stomach. I don't know, man. The point is, I didn't get to 10 hot dogs. I got 8 dogs in about 35, 40 minutes, I believe it was. And I'm not gonna lie, we were cruising through the first 4. We did. We were cruising, and actually, we cruised through the first 2 or 3, and I was like, dude, this is nice. And then we ate that 4th or 5th one, and it just settled. It settled in my tum-tum right away, and I was like, oh, this is bad. Like, this isn't gonna end well. Honestly, this is not gonna end well. And you know what? It did. I struggled with that 7th and 8th one. I really did. But it's fine, dude. I enjoyed it. I fasted. I did the challenge around 5 or 5:30, I believe. I think it was around 5 to 6 in that time frame. And I fasted up until that point all day. I tried my hardest. I think I drank like a cup of coffee that morning, a bunch of water, maybe a soda to keep the carbonation in me, keep me filled up throughout the day. And I really did. I thought that was actually going to help me, and it hurt. I do think so, because I did hear, I talked to my buddy about it, I was talking to a couple people, and I do think that when you fast, it kind of constricts your stomach a little bit, it shrinks a little bit temporarily. I could be talking out of my ass, and I could be trying to compensate for why I didn't get to 10. The point is, I didn't get to 10, I struggled. And I thought, at the time, in that video, I did say I never want to see a hot dog again. I want to be on the record to say I ate another one later that night. At like 10 o'clock, I was playing some Battlefield. It had just come out. And I was hungry mid-game. And you know what? I had a couple more hot dogs still. So I ate another one. I whipped up some chili on it, too. I'm a freaking psychopath, dude. Ate a chili dog at 10:30 at night after eating 8 dogs earlier in the day and wanting to end it all at that point, okay? The point is, I mentioned this in a previous episode. They are going to need to do studies on my brain, because I don't know how it operates. I don't really know why it operates in the way it does. I can't explain it, to be honest with you. And that's fine, in a good way. I really do. But to sum this whole entire intro up, I want to start maybe new drinking activities, trying new alcohols, plural form of alcohol, some slang I'm using, alcohols. Maybe trying some new food, new food challenges. I don't think I'm going to try the 10 hot dog challenge again. Maybe not. Maybe Pedro, my guy Pedro said maybe a large pizza. And it got me thinking maybe I could do a large pizza from Wawa. Or maybe they have an extra large pizza. I don't have enough reward points from Wawa to get a free pizza. So I don't know what size yet. I'm not sure. So maybe I do like whatever size they give you. Maybe they give you like a free medium. And then I order like a personal one on the side, because I really just hate myself, man. I want to make myself suffer. That's fine. But I let me know. Honestly, I'm intrigued to see how this goes going forward. I think we can incorporate some more of that stuff in there, because I just talk, man. I talk. I think you guys listen. Maybe you do a little bit. Maybe you guys tune out halfway through because Andy's just talking out his ass, which I do all the time. But that's fine. It is what it is. But we have a lot to talk about in terms of football. We have a lot to discuss. Let me take another sip of this Rocket Pop. Not a sponsor, by the way, but Three Daughters Brewing. Three Daughters Brewing. If you do want to sponsor me, come this way. You know how to reach me. I know y'all are watching. Hey, also, even if you don't want to sponsor me, if you need Cupid to strike again, we'll do that, because it's been a while since I've talked to some girls. So Cupid could strike again. I'm waiting in the wings, man. Like, we could talk for a couple months, maybe a month or two, and then you go find your true love, and then maybe after that you sponsor me. How about that? Come on. Andy's cooking with peanut oil tonight, dude. It's a really hot start, and I think it's setting us up for failure later on, because I just think it's going to come crashing down. That's fine. James Franklin has been fired. This is how we're going to transition to college, by the way. We're just going to go straight into it. There's no, in those cartoons when they do like the scene, the frame changes from like scene to scene, like, no, it's not that. We're going right into college football recap. It was a great weekend of college football. There was not a ton of, let's say, headliner games in terms of like ranked matchups, just powerhouses going at it. No, don't get me wrong. There were a lot of really good matchups. There were. I'll list them off right here. Indiana, Oregon, Alabama, Missouri, Georgia and Auburn ended up being a really good game. Arkansas, Tennessee got dicey. Michigan, USC, I thought was Screw you, Michigan. God, screw you, man. It pisses me off, dude. It really does. USF went on the road to North Texas, which you guys might think is, why is Andy talking about this? USF is ranked. They went on the road to North Texas. Huge conference game, by the way, in the American Conference. And they were a road dog. Again, I touched on this a couple weeks ago. We had multiple instances, I think 2 weekends ago, where we had ranked teams going on the road as an underdog. Ranked road dogs. That's what we're calling them. RRDs. Ranked road dogs. Keep up, okay? RRDs. USF was an RRD to North Texas. North Texas, at the time, was 6-0. USF was 5-1. Obviously, if you compare resumes, USF is going to clear it because they beat Florida. They beat Boise State. They played Miami. Didn't beat them. But regardless, they're undefeated in conference play at that point. And USF was a dog. I mean, I think North Texas was a 3.5 point favorite, 3.5 point favorite, which at the end of the day is more of just the home field benefit, the home field buff, I like to call it, that you give. And so really it was a toss up. It was a money line game. I don't think Vegas knew how it was going to go at all. And first quarter came out terribly for USF. I believe they turned the ball over 3 times. We had a couple picks and a fumble, or a couple fumbles and a pick. It came out, they started horribly. And I myself, and maybe a lot of other people that were watching or just following the game, were thinking, wow, USF might be fraudulent. And this was also an indictment of how bad Florida is, if that's the case. But it wasn't. USF, they found their footing, and it was 21 up at the half, which is it sounds normal on paper, like, okay, it's tied 21, whatever. As a USF fan, if you were pulling for USF in this game, you would think that was a win. Absolutely, because you were down 21-7, I believe. You were down 14-0, and then 21-7, I believe. So you were down multiple possessions, I think, at multiple points of the game. And you got to think that was a blessing in disguise to be tied at half. And then they just kicked it into high gear, man. USF put up 42 points in the second half on North Texas. They won 63-36. Imagine going into the halftime locker room and your coach saying, hey, we're tied. Give me 30 more minutes of good football, and I think we really got a good shot at winning this game. And you come back after the game, and you've lost 63-36. You got outscored 42-15 at halftime. You want to talk about a gut check? That's not a gut check. That's a season check right there. I don't know who North Texas plays. I was looking at it earlier because, again, we got to touch on this as well. I was making my sicko parlay on the way home. I was stuck in traffic. I had to make it real quick, but I was putting up my sicko parlay for the week, and I was looking at North Texas because this is a prime bounce back opportunity. You know, lost big at home, really good reality check. You know, you got popped in the mouth and you got to respond. But I don't know. I'm not playing that card, man. This is a really big for them, especially for conference championship intentions. Like if you still want to make it. That's a real big reality check. Like, you got to look yourself in the mirror and be like, hey, you know what? Last week happened. I'd like to forget about it, and we will, but we have to acknowledge that it happened, but we got to get going from here on out. You can't sulk. You know what I mean? Like, you can't sulk for a week or two after that. Like, it's conference play. It's anyone's game any week, especially in the American Conference, because we love that ball. We love that football there. But USF rolled on the road, it was a hell of a win for them. Ohio State, Illinois, you know, I got to touch on this because Ohio State's number 1, and it was a ranked matchup. The spread coming into this game, it closed at 14.5. And I truly believed in my heart of hearts that, 23 minutes in, and I have dropped the heart of hearts reference. I've actually used the heart of hearts analogy twice, unironically, in this episode. That is a new low, I believe. That is, Andy's grasping at straws right here for content. But I truly believe that that Illinois had a really good shot at winning this game because it was the typical, like, Indiana blew them out. Like, Indiana blew them out of the water in Bloomington. They did. They ran them out of the stadium. It was 63-10. I thought Illinois was the most fraudulent team known to mankind, and they came back the next weekend and upset USC at home. They beat them like 32-27 or something like that. And they went on the road to Purdue and put up 40. They put up 43. And so in my mind, I said, look, I hated on them for 2 weeks. I faded them. I didn't want to bet on them. I actually picked USC in our Pick'ems League and my sicko parlay for that week when Illinois upset them. And so I was kind of soured on them. I said, look, I don't know what to expect. After the Purdue game, I thought, hey, you know what? This team's good. Indiana is really good, which I have thought all season long. So I was a little conflicted because I was like, I think Indiana's really good. But I don't know. Like I didn't think Indiana was 50 points better than another ranked team. Good, you know what I mean? At the time, Illinois was a top 10 team, and that's no slight to Indiana or Coach Signetti, who, by the way, congrats on the extension, 8 million or 8 years, 93 million. Hell of a job. I love it. It shuts down any rumors that any college football reporters want to make or any message boards want to make in terms of, oh, he's going to meet with Penn State to take the Penn State job, or once Florida fires Billy Napier, he's going to take that job, or if LSU parts ways with Brian Kelly, take that, or if Lane Kiffin leaves Ole Miss, he's going to take Ole Miss. No, no. I was talking to my really good friend Jacob Cooper. He is a huge IU sports fan, huge Indiana sports fan, and he was nervous after this weekend. He was kind of saying, he was kind of saying, look, I don't know what he's going to do. I hope he stays. I really do, obviously, because he's turned this program around. He's put it on the map, and he's basically he's let it hang and just said, hey, we're here to stay, And he said, I hope he doesn't see the Penn State, the Florida, or any other prominent Power 4 conference job open up, that coaching vacancy open up, and he said, I hope he doesn't see that as a step up from Indiana and say, hey, I've done it on this scale. Let me go to one of the quote unquote like big dogs of college football, the college football world, and let me go there and do it. I told him, dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. I fully disagree. I wholeheartedly disagree with you on that, because when you watch some of his interviews and not the press conferences like after the games or in the practice and stuff, he was on an interview. I don't remember who it was, but he said, he said his previous school, he was at James Madison. He said, look, I was fully happy there. I was okay with retiring at James Madison. Like there wasn't a drive in me to use this as a stepping stone for the Ohio State job. If Ryan Day would have gotten fired last year, or as one of these big top dog blue blood jobs. If one of these opens up, he's I probably would have listened to the offer. Obviously, he did, because Indiana offered him the job, and eventually took the contract. Money talks, obviously, to a certain extent. But he's talking about Indiana. He said, look, I'm in a Big Ten. The Big Ten and the SEC are the true, kind of big dogs of the college football world now. And he said, look, I get to do this at the biggest stage. When I took this job, in my mind, building up Indiana, he had talks with the administration, maybe the boosters, all this, the sports department, all that, the school, and they said, look, we really want to invest in the football team. And look, I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I know, we're 30 minutes away, we haven't got to talking anything useful yet, but he said, look, when he was doing the interview and all that for the job, and, they made it clear to him that they wanted to make the football team at Indiana a staple. Like they wanted to build it up and truly invest in making it a powerhouse. And obviously you can't guarantee it becoming a top 10 powerhouse every single season, like what its ability's already become in year 1.5. But in his eyes, this is where I'm going, but in his eyes, he saw Indiana as a Big Ten school. The Big Ten is obviously one of the two main conferences now in college football. You could argue it's the SEC, Big Ten. I think SEC is deeper than the Big Ten overall. But the Big Ten has the best top dogs this season out of the two conferences. Let's keep it real. Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana. Not Penn State anymore. Sorry. But Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana, those three teams will go toe-to-toe with any SEC team this season. Absolutely, 100%. I'd probably pick them in a lot of these games. We needed that. Should we go for the double sip or the rocket pop? We're going for the double sip of the rocket pop. So he viewed Indiana as one of the powerhouse teams in college football world. And I don't mean powerhouse in terms of history, but he viewed it as, in his mind, hey, if we can get this up and running, I truly see potential in this. I see a lot of good things happening in this. IU, they have the money. They were just waiting for someone to come along and show promise, show the potential to really bring them, like in IU basketball, a storied program, a lot of really good history. They want that for football. They want to start making that for football. And I think they are, obviously. I mean, they made the playoff last season. They're 6-0. They just upset Oregon on the road. They're a top 5 team. I think they're number 3 now. And that's all it took was just a coach coming in and proving that I'm here to stay. I truly see this thing going in the right direction. I want to build this from the ground up, and that's what he's done. He brought in a lot of his James Madison players. It's awesome, man. I'm fully in on Indiana. All this to say, that's why I thought Illinois had a chance to get Ohio State. They didn't. It was a 14.5-point spread. I took Illinois to cover. Ohio State won by 18. The game was never that close. It was 21-0. It was 21-3 at the half. It was 21-10. Illinois got the ball. The first possession in the second half went down, scored. Ohio State went right back and scored 28-10. The game was just never that close. It really wasn't. It was out of reach all the time. But who's that to say? Ohio State's 1. Indiana's 3 now in the new AP poll. So unfortunately, they don't play each other in the regular season. That is the crash course right now that we're heading for in the Big Ten Championship. I fully expect, and look, I understand. I know Jacob Cooper is probably listening to this point, and he continues, like we talked about it this weekend when I was struggling over the hot dogs. We were watching the IU Oregon game together at the same time, and did Mookie just go deep? He did not. That was a routine flyout. Andy, you stink at just watching. It's that simple. But he was saying, look, dude, I've been through the gauntlet of IU seasons, like 6-6. Just getting to a bowl game has been such a huge win for IU football sports fans. And that's, it's true. That was the reality for a while. The problem is that's not reality anymore. So, you have to adjust your mindset on the fly. I mean, during the game last weekend, they were showing a stat, and it was like the previous 56 seasons of IU football, the combined winning percentage was, I think, 317 or 387. Regardless, it was sub 400. I believe it was like 317. Kurt Signetti comes in, and in 19 games is 17-2, which amounts to almost a 900 win percentage, which is just ridiculous, man. It's in the 800s, dude. It's just ridiculous what he's done there, how quickly he's turned it around. It's awesome, man. This is the Indiana Ramble. I know none of you guys care about it except for like 2 or 3 of us, but I don't really care. I love it, dude. Indiana's here to stay. Kurt Signetti got the extension today. And I truly see them as one of those top 4 powerhouses in the Big Ten going forward. You've got Ohio State. You've got Oregon. I think Michigan will find their footing again soon. I don't know if they're going to be as 11-1, 10-2 dominant year in year out as they were with Jim Harbaugh. They could be, absolutely. They absolutely could be. Who knows? They could be more 9-3, 10-2, which isn't a huge drop off, but who knows? But I think Indiana's right in that range every season, 9-3, 10-2. It just depends on what draw you get in the Big Ten scheduling. But you got Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Indiana, maybe Penn State, depending on who they hire. I think it's a little naive to think Penn State's going to go back to to fall back to 6-6, 7-5, 8-4 seasons all the time. It depends on who they hire, obviously, but I do think they'll be right back to 9-3, 10-2 seasons in due time. I mean, it's Penn State, man. Like, they're not going to be that down for that long, in my honest opinion. I could be completely wrong, but who knows? Maybe I just have recency bias because they've been so good for so long. But I don't know. But overall, let's do the college football recap. We're going to skip through it, and we're going to get to this week's. But Indiana beat Oregon, as I mentioned, on the road. Huge win for Signetti. Florida lost to Texas A&M. Are we surprised at this point? I mean, seriously. Like Florida scored 14 points in the first quarter. I don't know if they got the ball first. I don't know if they scored on their first drive or if Texas A&M had the ball first. Can I look this up on the fly real quick? But regardless, Florida scored 14 points in the first quarter. They had like 150 yards of offense in the first quarter. They had about 120, 130 the rest of the game. It was ugly, man. They had 150 something in the first quarter, and they ended with basically that exact amount the rest of the game. The next quarters 2 through 4 combined. Now, look, I get it. Mike Elko is a defensive coach, defensive-minded coach. They go into halftime. He makes adjustments. Billy does not. I want you guys to know this. Billy does not make halftime adjustments. If it's going bad, it's, hey, we just got to start executing the plays. If it's going good, it's, hey, we just got to keep executing the plays. There's no halftime adjustments, man. There isn't. It's oh my God. Just insanity, man. Should I go on one more Billy Napier? No, we're not going on one more rant before he's fired. I believe this is his last game. Florida plays Mississippi State this weekend at home, homecoming weekend. They run some throwback uniforms, the 1960s throwbacks, I believe. And I believe this is his last game. So if he gets fired Saturday night, which is my birthday, what a hell of a birthday gift to just be treated to. That would be, wow, that would be awesome. That would be crazy. But if he gets fired, I think we have to do an emergency episode Saturday night. If I'm here at the apartment, if I'm here at the house and nothing going on. I think I might have to do an emergency to do like one last rant, hoorah, death, mourning the end of the Billy Napier era. We gotta, hopefully the next one is good. But I think we do. I think we do an emergency pod in case that happens on Saturday night, maybe even Sunday morning. Who knows? But it was just terrible, man. It was, dude. Florida gets the ball first to start the game. They go right down the field, score a touchdown. A&M comes back 2 plays, touchdown. Wow, 75 yards. That hurts the soul. Florida goes, you know what? We're gonna punt. 3 and out. A&M scores again, touchdown. Florida gets the ball back, 6-play drive, touchdown. You're thinking end of first quarter, like we're going blow for blow with them. You know what I mean? Like we're going. It's a lot of haymakers being thrown, not a lot of defense being played, but hey. We're here. The offense is here. They're figuring it out on the fly. We got it. Nope. That is because one team made adjustments in this game, and that team was not Florida. A&M beat Florida 34-17. It was 14-14 at the end of the first quarter. Florida got outscored 20-3 the rest of the game. That's the entire 4-year tenure with Billy Napier. It's just a big sigh. Any time, any point you thought you had momentum, he just took it right away, man. He just snatched it. He did. Give him credit, man. He was consistent at that. But I don't want to, harp on it too much because I'm probably going to dwell on it when he gets fired. It's not a matter of if, it's really just a matter of when at this point, unfortunately for him. And, I love him. He's a nice guy. I do. He's a really nice guy. He's done really well in terms of building everything up for Florida outside of X's and O's. He has completely reamped, refilled, and stocked up on talent there in terms of offensive and defense, just depth-wise. They have a ton of it. He's done facility upgrades. He's done he's built a really good culture there. He has. You cannot argue that, and I'm grateful for that. He put Florida football back in a really good spot from a culture standpoint. We've got the talent. It's just a matter of going out there and winning the X's and O's games. And the problem is they just don't win those. They don't win the X's and O battles. He just loses that. And unfortunately, that's the most important part. Honest to God, we're 40 minutes in, and we're just rambling. I mean, this is Shed Ramble right now. This isn't Shed Talk. This is Shed Ramble, but that's fine. But Florida lost, not a shock to anybody. Alabama went on the road and got a huge win at Missouri. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware. Missouri's really good now. They're a really solid football team. They're with Eli Drinkwitz, and they have to be careful with some of these jobs opening. There's going to be a lot of teams that might come calling for Eli Drinkwitz. I'm not going to lie. They might be willing to back up the Brinks truck for him. I don't know if he's going to get 7 figures, like $10 million a year, but he's built up a really good program at Missouri and a really good just program. He's got a really good program going on there. But I no complaints, man. I think his personality is a little. If you're not a fan, you don't like him. How about that? And that's not a problem. If you're a Missouri fan, you love that. We don't want you to like us. We're gonna come in. We're gonna beat you. We're gonna beat you. Maybe you like him. Maybe you don't. He's a friendly guy, but he also likes to talk his crap. He likes to throw these jabs. And hey, I respect it, man. You just gotta back up your talk. But nevertheless, Bama comes in and gets another huge ranked road win. RRW. We're coming with the acronyms this go around. So 20 minutes ago, RRD. What was that? I gave you about 5 seconds to answer. What was that? Ranked Road Dog. You guys didn't remember, man. Take some notes for the love of Christ. Now we got RRW, a ranked road win. Now, Bama was not an RRD here. They were favored, I believe, by 2.5 maybe. So, yeah, I think they were favored by 2.5 and they won by 3. So they covered. Hey, good teams win. Great teams cover. I think Bama might be a great team. They might be showing themselves as a great team. But it was a really good game. It was a 3-point game, but it just didn't feel that close. I was swapping between this game and some other ones that were going on in the 12 o'clock slate, the noon slate, as some people call it. Here in the biz, we call it the 12 o'clock slate. Not really. We call it the noon game. We call it whatever the hell I want to call it. But it just had that feeling of. It just didn't seem like they were going to lose that game. I don't know how to describe it, but when I was watching it, I just had that feeling that they just had the game in control the entire time. And the score didn't really dictate that. In the second half, they went up 27, or in the fourth, fourth quarter, they went up 27-17. So they were up by 2 possessions. Missouri scored late, I believe, later in the fourth. But it just felt... And they had the ball with an opportunity to go tie it or win it at the end of the game. And don't get me wrong, like, it was a close game. But it just... I don't know why. I mean, it could just be me with the Bama bias, or I could just been reading it wrong completely. That's absolutely possible. It just kind of felt like they were in control. Like, it just... it was weird. I just didn't see them losing the game. Unless they made an absolute catastrophic mistake, which is absolutely, obviously possible. But it just didn't seem like it was going to happen. It didn't. But... they won, I don't really have anything else to say. Bama looks really good. They look really rejuvenated after that FSU drubbing in week 1 on the road. But Bama's had some really tough road games, man. At Florida State, at Georgia, at Missouri. I don't know who else they got. They got to have another 1 or 2 to end the season, But Alabama looking better and better every week, it feels like, Texas Tech took care of business against Kansas. That hurts my soul as a Jayhawks fan. It's hard to defend it anymore, man. Kansas's defense is terrible, as we already knew. We already knew that. Their defense is terrible. The offense sputtered. Texas Tech's defense might be the real deal, but they put up 17 points in the second quarter, didn't score outside of that. They got shut out 3 of the 4 quarters, which is a recipe for a loss. It always is, But is what it is. Texas Tech remains undefeated. They, in my opinion, are still the Big 12 favorite, and obviously I think Vegas and all the other betting sites agree with that. It's not really a surprise to anyone. But I gotta give J-Rat some love, man. Tennessee moves to 5-1. I gotta give J-Rat and my boy Mikey D. Mike, miss you at work. Hope to see you back on Monday. But I gotta give credit, man. Credit's due. They're 5-1. They got a big win against Arkansas at home. And look, they won by 3. It got close at the end. Tennessee was up 34-17 at the beginning of the fourth quarter. And I think they started playing some prevent defense, just soft coverage. Just don't let them get a 1 or 2 play touchdown. And it got close to the end, obviously. Clearly, as you could tell, because the score was 34-31. But it's impressive, man. Tennessee has Bama this weekend in Bama, in Bryant-Denny. That's a tough draw, man. It really is. Bama's humming right now. Tennessee's defense is just kind of reeling a little bit. It's tough, dude. It really is. I don't know which way to go in this game. I genuinely, I think Bama's an 8.5-point favorite or a 7.5-point favorite. I think Tennessee covers. I think that is just the blind Tennessee bias in me a little bit, because I really believe in... I just believe in Heupel's offense. Like, that's just kind of how I feel. I believe in Heupel's offense to score and keep up with teams. I believe that their defense is going to make enough plays. I could have a little bit of last year hangover because their defense was so elite that I still do not choose to believe that their defense has fallen off this much as it has. But I just think to keep it close. I think Bama's defense has been playing better. I still just think there is room for a little regression. I don't think it's as dominant as it's been. It hasn't been really showing dominance. They gave it 21 to Georgia, 24 to Missouri, I think 31 to Vandy, I believe. So it's not dominant by any means. I mean, it's kind of, it has its struggles, just like Tennessee's defense does. But I just got a feeling, man. Like, Tennessee won 2 of the last 3 matchups. They won 22. They lost in 23. Won last year in 24. And it's tough for me, man. I think Tennessee covers at the very least. Now, if you're a betting man and you have to choose who's going to win, I have no idea. I'm choosing Tennessee to cover. Let me call it that. I'll leave it at that right there. Tennessee covers this game. That's just... I could be an idiot. I don't really care. Sue me, man. Sue me. We're going to have to take a break here soon. We're going on for 45 minutes, and I'm going to have to get another drink. You know what? I've been drinking that Rock Pop. Let's take another sip of this apple pie wine. We're 45 minutes in. I am so sorry. This episode's gone off the rails. I am just rambling. It's what it is, though. Dude, this is good. I actually taste apple pie. How do you do this, Trader Joe's? Or Oliver. Oliver, how do you do this? I don't get it, man. Get this away from me. This is bad. I'm going to get hammered. I haven't eaten dinner yet. I haven't eaten anything since lunch. Actually, that's a lot. I had a protein bar about 2 or 3 o'clock. Obviously, still not really anything special, anything crazy, but this is dangerous, dude. This is dangerous. But we're gonna take a break at some point. Let me finish up college football recap. I don't really think there is anything else to recap, to be honest with you, right? Because that's about it. And there wasn't a lot of other headline matchups. I mean, I dug really deep into the Hoosiers. I just want to pick them this week. I want to predict what's going to go on this week. That's kind of what I want to do right now. But we're going to take a break real quick. Okay, slider intermission. Now we're back. One of my cousins / roommates / cousins was on his way home. So I cut off that last segment, went in, talked with him a little bit. Thankfully, not gonna lie, he went right to bed. He was super tired, so that works out for me. He went to bed around 8 o'clock, so normal in this household for them too. I can't lie. They go to bed really early, but we're not going to go into Cousin Ramble Fets. It's time to get into the weeds of college football. Now, I realize I have been rambling for 45 minutes about a whole lot of nothing, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you guys appreciate that. Maybe you guys like that more. Maybe not more, but I think it's an added element to the show, I think. But, however, let's get into this week's college football preview. I believe this is a week 8 officially of college football. Yes, it is. It is week 8. Again, I just switched over to ESPN and my little picture of me recording went out. So now I can't see if I look decent or terrible. I don't know. But I went through, I did a couple, some headliner games for the preview. So my headliners, I'll run through them real quick and then I'll go in a little bit more detail. LSU at Vanderbilt. Ole Miss at Georgia, wow. USC at Notre Dame, the Southern California USC. Utah at BYU. Oklahoma and South Carolina. And that's the other USC. So we have both USCs in our headlines this weekend. USC, University of Southern California on the road. USC, University of South Carolina at home. And then Georgia Tech at Duke. So most of these both teams are ranked. The exceptions are Oklahoma at South Carolina and Georgia Tech at Duke. And so, if you notice that, and he's sinking a little bit, those two I have headline because it's two ranked teams on the road again. And so, let me get this one out of the way. Georgia Tech is an RRD against Duke. Ranked road dog against Duke. It is only a 1.5, I believe, spread. Yeah, Duke minus 1.5. So, realistically, if you're factoring the 2.5, 3 points for the home field advantage, Georgia Tech's a slight favorite, but regardless, you're splitting hairs at that point. Regardless, Vegas does not know what to think of this game. I honestly, I don't think Vegas knows what to think of this game, and that's because Georgia Tech is 6-0, Duke is 4-2. Both teams, I believe, are 3-0 in the ACC. Both teams are undefeated. Georgia Tech is coming off a bye? No? Did they play last weekend and I just didn't realize it? Trying to scroll through. Oh, they did play last weekend. They played Virginia Tech last weekend. The week before, they played Wake Forest and had to come back down from 17 down or something. A game. It was a very dicey game. The refs were not great. Very poorly officiated game. But I am curious to think the Manny Diaz led Duke Blue Devils, Duke University. Is it University of Duke? Duke University? What is it? I don't know actually. But I think it's DU, Duke University. But they are a 1.5 point favorite at home against Georgia Tech. And I am just not perplexed because Georgia Tech hasn't shown dominance. Let me say that. They haven't shown dominance in their 6-0 start. I know they beat Clemson by a couple scores. Unfortunately, Clemson has come back down to earth. They don't look as good as what preseason we all thought. We all thunk. To be honest with you, I thunk Clemson was going to be the ACC champ, easy playoff bid, first round bye, and run it, returning all these guys. But it just haven't, getting off Clemson tangent. Georgia Tech just hasn't looked, they're 6-0, but they don't look 6-0, if that makes sense. They win a lot of close games. It's just the style of football they play. They don't have an explosive passing game. They have a run-heavy approach, and it's more of a true ground and pound, tough nose, physical running, and it all stems through their quarterback, obviously, Haynes King, and he embodies that. He definitely reminds me of the Tim Tebow days at Florida, where it's just that we're going to rush it 15 times for 52 yards, and it's not going to be pretty, but we're going to have to run through guys, we're going to have to take some hits, we're going to have to give the hits, you know what I mean? And at the end, it's we're going to come out on top, And when you play that kind of offense, especially in today's day and age, you're not going to blow out a lot of teams that you aren't absolutely superior to. And that's, that's just the way it is. That's just football nowadays. That's how it always is. But it's especially more so today because a lot of teams have explosive passing games, and even if they're not consistent, they have these blips, these blips where it happens, where Duke could hit you with a 67-yard passing touchdown after you just had a 15-play, 62-yard touchdown drive, and then you got to go back out there and hopefully you don't go 3 and out because your offense just used all of its mojo up on that one drive, I'm talking out of my ass here, but Duke has lost to Illinois and Tulane. Illinois, they got blown out by, I remember we touched on this a couple weeks ago, earlier in the season. It was a close game until the end. Look, the score happened, 45-19. It was a close game up until late in the game. But then they lost on the road to Tulane. And as a Power 4 team on the road against a G5 team, to put it simply, that's unacceptable. But it happened. Tulane's really good. Tulane is a really good G5 team, and Duke, they lost on the road, Since then, they're 3-0. They beat NC State at home 45-33. They beat Syracuse on the road 38-3, but that one has an asterisk by it because, Syracuse was playing without their quarterback, Steve Angeli. He tore his ACL, I believe. Is ACL, I think? Is ACL or Achilles the week before against Clemson. So they were playing with a backup quarterback, short notice, stuff like that, but it is what it is. And so that's why I kind of understand Duke winning that game, blowing them out, because Syracuse probably just didn't have a game plan ready. They just didn't expect that, obviously. No one expects that. And then they beat Cal, at Cal, mind you. They went to California, put up 45 on Cal, 145-21. That's an impressive win. I think that's a decent win. But, they're 4-2. They have two pretty bad losses, in my opinion. So I'm a little surprised. I can't believe I'm going this deep into the Georgia Tech Duke game. I realize I have to get better at just making my predictions. Maybe give it like 1 or 2 tidbits and then boom, give me a prediction. Give me Georgia Tech in this one. I think Georgia Tech as an RRD, ranked road dog, wins this game. It's a 1.5 point spread. Why would I take them to cover and not win? I'm just weird. That would just be weird. Give me Georgia Tech to win this game. I think they go on the road and get a really hard fought win against Duke. And then the other ranked team that's a road dog, Oklahoma at South Carolina. I think the problem with this one, or not the problem with this one, I think Vegas has a real problem with this one because the whole storyline, and I said it last week in my episode, I'm pretty sure I said about this game was, I said, if John Mateer doesn't play against Texas, Texas wins. If John Mateer plays against Texas, Oklahoma wins. Boy, was I wrong. John Mateer won that game for Texas. He did. He came back from that hand injury, had surgery, missed 1 or 2 games, I believe. Maybe one game in a bye week. And he came back and looked terrible. He looked horrendous against Texas last week in the Red River shootout. It was not much of a shootout. Texas won that game 23-6. John Mateer he didn't throw a touchdown, obviously, but he threw 3 picks. It was a very, very, very ugly game. Texas didn't do a ton offensively, but at the same time, you have to give them credit because they didn't need to. The defense forced a lot of turnovers. The defense stymied Oklahoma's offense. They did all they needed to do, and so at that point, Texas's offense did what they needed to do, which is basically don't turn the ball over. Don't basically set up Oklahoma in plus territory and give them favorable field position. Don't give him any, don't give him any leash, any slack really on Oklahoma offensively because John Mateer was just off. He was just rusty, didn't have a great day, and Texas won. So I think that game sets up why Vegas doesn't know what to do with this game. It's Cocktober. I don't know if I could say that on the air. I think I can. I will. It's Cocktober. South Carolina Gamecocks. They're at home against Oklahoma. And so I think it's just Vegas doesn't know what to do. I don't really know what to do right here. Oklahoma's a 5 oh no. Why was I'm an idiot. Oklahoma isn't a dog in this game. Oklahoma's favored by 5.5 points. I think I put this. I lumped this in with the other game, with the Georgia Tech and Duke game, because it's a ranked team on the road against an unranked team. That's it, really. Oklahoma's not a dog. The problem is Vegas still does. I feel like this game as a 14th ranked team, South Carolina has just disappointed this year. Offensively, they have completely disappointed. So I honestly think Vegas still doesn't know what to expect fully from Oklahoma because they're only a 5.5 point favorite. And so to be,
less than a touchdown favorite on the road against the South Carolina team that has just struggled, to say the least. They're 3-3, 1-3 in the SEC. Offensively, it just hasn't clicked at all. I think Vegas still doesn't know. Like, was last week's John Mathieu performance a blip in the radar, kind of just an anomaly because it was his first game back from injury? Texas showed up. It was a really good day for Texas, defensively. Who knows? I'm taking Oklahoma to win this game. I think if they win this game, it's by more than 5 points. So I mean, you could see this winning by a field goal. I think Oklahoma wins this game like a 24-17, maybe even like a 27-13 kind of slugfest. I think Oklahoma wins this game and covers. Win and cover for Oklahoma. Moving on, LSU at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is, dude, nothing better explains that we are living in 2025 than Vanderbilt being a 2.5 point favorite against LSU. How about them apples? It's truly, we are living in magical times in A, just the college football world, but B, just everything in general, man. Like, it's crazy. Vanderbilt is 5-1. Both LSU and Vanderbilt are 5-1. They both have one loss in SEC play. Vanderbilt's at home, and they're 2.5 point favorite against LSU. That is crazy. If you would have told any college football fan 5 years ago that, hey, in 2025, it is third Saturday in October. It's Andy's 26th birthday at this time, just to let you guys know, in 2020 at least, of course, that Vanderbilt's going to be favored by 2.5 over LSU, and LSU has its starting quarterback and basically their entire starting roster intact. This isn't a banged up and just your face LSU's third string at this point in the season. No, this is mano a mano. This is power on power, best versus best in terms of your team, like your roster. And Vanderbilt is favored by 2.5 at home. How about them apples, dude? And you know what's even crazier? I kind of want to take them. I do. I kind of want to. LSU beat South Carolina last week. They kind of got the run game going, which is, I think I said this after they played Florida, or maybe even before. I think I said this after Florida. I was kind of ranting on Florida, but I even brought up LSU, and I said, look, LSU can't run the ball. Like, they cannot run the ball right now. They're a one-dimensional offense, and Garrett Nussmeier is clearly struggling passing the ball. They ran it a little bit against South Carolina last week. Look, I'm not gonna dwell on it too much because I think South Carolina is just completely not out of it, but they've just disappointed this season. The season's over for South Carolina. Like, it's just been a massive disappointment. 9-3 last year. Very high expectations, not lofty expectations, but high-ish expectations to build on what they ended on last season. And completely fair. I mean, they were a good team last year. They took Bama to the brink. They should have beat them. Sorry about that. I had to finish off that rocket pop. We got another one in the chamber right here. Third one. Put up the wine because the wine I think was too sugary. I was gonna, end up with a really big hangover tomorrow if I kept drinking out of it. But I will be drinking it this weekend. Don't you second guess that. But in this game, it's all about, was LSU's rushing performance last week against South Carolina a fluke, or they finally kind of unlocked something maybe? And I think it's more of a fluke. Honestly, I just like Vanderbilt. They took Alabama to the brink. Vanderbilt's just been a good team. They've run it up on everybody not named SEC opponents, which is, not to take stock into it, but they've taken care of business where they needed to. It's that simple, And I take stock in that. I think it's, look, dude, they're one. Give me Vanderbilt, dude. I gotta move along, dude. We gotta get the show moving along. Give me Vanderbilt in this game. I think Vanderbilt, even though they're favored, I think this is an upset if they win this game. I truly believe that. I truly believe that if Vanderbilt wins this game, it's an upset. I don't care that they're favored. I understand that. It is an upset in my eyes, and I think in a lot of college football fans' eyes. Moving on, I know this is an SEC heavy slate, but this one's not SEC. How about that? USC, the Southern California one. USC traveling on the road to Notre Dame. And so Notre Dame looked to be blood in the water, just dead in the water, kind of after week 2. Wow, what happened? After week 3, wow. We're wrong about Notre Dame. National championship appearance last year, and maybe a little bit of a hangover from that, and not so much as the team just didn't show up ready in terms of they've lost a lot, Maybe they just lost a lot, and this is a kind of a not a rebuild year, but a little bit of a retool year in terms of, hey, we got to figure out what we have this year and we'll come back strong next year. Like we'll come back even stronger next season. I thought you could have said that after the losses to Miami and Texas A&M. But look, dude, the more the season goes on, we're in week 8 now. Right? We're 7 weeks in. As that goes on, Notre Dame lost 2 nail biters to 2 of the top 4 teams in the country, or 2 of the top 5, 6 teams in the country. I don't know exactly their rankings, but let's see real quick. I don't know. Have we come out with college football playoff rankings yet? I don't think so. This might, maybe after this week they will. But Miami's number 2, Texas A&M number 4. Yeah, I hit that nail on the head right there. Notre Dame lost 2 one-possession games to 2 of the top 4 teams in the country. The number 2 and the number 4 team in the country. 1 at home, 1 on the road. No, 1 on the road, 1 at home. Sorry, they were in Miami and then they were at home against A&M. And so look, dude, you lost the games. I get it. The schedule dips off after that. Anybody's schedule is going to dip off after you play 2 of the top 4 teams in the country in your first 2 games. I get it. You lost the games. You need to win those. It doesn't matter. If Notre Dame finishes this season 10-2, they're in the playoffs, dude. Let's be real. They're in the playoffs. Regardless, little Notre Dame tangent there. I'm not a Notre Dame homer. I'm just a realist, dude. They desperately need this win. And both teams desperately need this game. USC and Notre Dame both need this win, or else their playoff chances are basically ruined. I don't think that's I honestly don't really think that's a stretch to say that. This is prime time. It's in Notre Dame, 7:30 p.m. Notre Dame's 4-2, USC's 5-1. USC has only lost that Illinois game. They had a huge win against Michigan last weekend on the road, I believe. No, at home. Sorry, they were at home against Michigan. Yeah, sorry about that. And I fully expected Michigan to win that game. Michigan was a road ranked team. I thought they were going to come in and just kind of out physical USC. I was wrong. USC won 31-13. Kind of changes your complexion of this game, I think, a little bit. But I don't know. I don't really know what to go with this game. I think Notre Dame, their offense was clicking the first month. Their defense was not. The last few weeks, the offense has remained consistent enough, but the defense, it seems like it's kind of beginning to right the ship. If I go to their schedule, I remember they gave up about 13 to Arkansas. So the Notre Dame-Arkansas game was the game that got Sam Pittman fired. Rest in peace. Sorry about that, Sam Pittman. But they gave up 13 to Arkansas. They gave up 7 to Boise to Boise State, and then 7 to NC State. So they've given up 27 points in the last 3 games. That's impressive. That's 9 points per game. Quick Andy math right there. Come on. 27 divided by 3. Didn't we need a calc for that? A calc, by the way, is short for calculator. Just using some slang. But Notre Dame, look, you've given up 13, 7, and 7. Granted, the quality of opponent has fallen off in the last 3 weeks compared to your first couple games. I don't really care, dude. If you're giving up 9 points a game and your offense puts up 56, 28, and 36, that's a recipe for success. I mean, you don't even need any analytics for that. That is a huge, huge recipe for success. It is. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I think Notre Dame kind of, maybe not flexes their muscles, but I think Notre Dame kind of plants that Notre Dame flag and says, hey, look, we were 0-2 to start the season. We're going to run it. We're not falling off this season. We may not be as good as last season when we made the Natty. We made the Natty champion. It's hard to replicate that 2 seasons in a row. I think Notre Dame wins this game at home against USC. The spread is, I don't really know. Let's go back to the old ESPN-inator. What is the spread for this game, ESPN? Maybe you could load a little bit quicker, please, because we're live. The spread on this game is Notre Dame minus 9.5. Ooh, I don't like that. Ooh. Well, I think Notre Dame wins this game. I think USC covers. So if you're a betting man, I am a betting man. I have my college pick'ems I need to submit by tomorrow. I think Notre Dame wins this game, but I'm playing it safe. I say Notre Dame wins but doesn't cover because I think USC's offense is still good enough to keep them in this game. I don't think it will win them the game. I don't know if they're going to have turnovers, maybe. I don't know if turnovers per se are going to do them in. I just think Notre Dame's offense against USC's defense is a little bit more favorable of a matchup than USC's offense against the Irish defense. I do. I could be talking to my ass. USC could upset this game 31-28, and I wouldn't be that surprised. I would be actually a little surprised. I think Notre Dame wins this game. The cover is a little bit of a stretch. I don't like 9.5 points at all. That feels like a lot, but it goes in line with how their defense has been playing. Like they've been playing complementary football. I mean, the first couple of weeks it was offense keeps scoring, the defense can't do anything. They can't stop a cold. They can't stop a runny nose. Last couple of weeks it's been offenses continue to roll, continue to do their job. Defense has finally turned a corner, it seems. So if you want to extrapolate that, then sure, go. By all means, go take Notre Dame. Take Notre Dame points and win in the points. I'm gonna go take Notre Dame, but USC covers in this game. I think that's it. I am really bad at not keeping my word. 20 minutes in and I've gone over 3 games. LSU, this is bad. Jiminy Christmas, man. I can't stop with these marathon apps. But Ole Miss at Georgia. Georgia is obviously favored in this game. No surprise. Georgia at home is favored. They're 7.5 point favorites. I don't like these spreads this week, dude. I think Ole Miss covers that. I do. Plain and simple. Georgia beat Ole Miss 52-17 in 2023. Ole Miss beat Georgia 24-10, I believe, last season, or 24-13. It was multiple possessions. I'm 99.6% sure. But Ole Miss is on the road. They're not starting Austin Simmons. They're starting Trinity Chambliss, that D2 Fair State transfer. He's been starting for a couple weeks now, so it's not really a surprise. I think Austin Simmons is still hurt. But this is probably Chambliss's first true test road-wise. It really just, best in terms of quality of opponent, this is their top quality opponent all season, obviously. And Georgia's top 10 team. But, well, I think Georgia's 9th. Yeah, so they're still top 10. But I don't like 7.5 points. I think Ole Miss cover. I honestly think Ole Miss can win this game. Georgia has just, as much as I have a Georgia stigma because they've just rolled ever since, ever since Kirby's been there. They just roll over everyone not named Bama, basically, for the most part. So I mean this from a genuine perspective in that Georgia just doesn't look dominant this year. Georgia's really good. Obviously, they're number 9 in the country. They're really good. But there's still flaws with them. I do think so. Their defense isn't as dominant as it usually is. They're not getting after the quarterback. They're not just suffocating offenses down. They're not just fully taking over games. And prime Georgia with the Stetson Bennett years and even when Carson Beck was there, the defense took over. Jake Fromm, Stetson Bennett, all those people, man. The defense carried them. Far and away, the defense carried a more mediocre offense at best that was carried by the run game. This just hasn't been the case the last 2 years. Georgia's just a little bit different. They're just not as dominant. That's why I believe that Ole Miss could kind of starts right up. Ole Miss can not take advantage of. I just think Ole Miss can win this game. I truly do think so. I don't like the 7.5 point spread. I think Ole Miss covers at the very least. So I'm gonna take Ole Miss to cover. Georgia probably wins this game. I'm not even confident in that though. I think Ole Miss covers. I'm very big on Ole Miss, and that's not just because I want Florida to hire Lane Kiffin. I would like that, but that's not where this is stemming from. I just think Lane Kiffin has matured over the years as a coach. He's become a better play caller, all that. I just think that Ole Miss covers this game. It's a nail biter down to the wire. I think Ole Miss might actually win this game, but at the very least, I think Ole Miss covers. Last one, Utah, BYU. The problem is I don't know a lot about these teams. I just know Utah got rolled by Texas Tech. Actually, Texas Tech's backup quarterback for half the game. Utah's favored in this game, by the way. I believe by 3 points on the road. Utah's on the road at BYU. Spread is 3.5. I don't trust this at all. Truth be told, I don't trust this at all. I think, and I could be completely wrong, I don't think BYU hasn't been tested this season that much in terms of quality opponents, conference opponents. So that's why BYU's undefeated. USC has 1 or 2 losses. Utah has 1 loss. But that's why Utah's favored on the road, is because I think Vegas loves their roster better than BYU's. I just believe the wrong team's favored in this. That game against Texas Tech really scarred me, really skewed my, how about that, skewed my bias, in my opinion. So, forgive me if I'm wrong. I could be completely talking my ass here. I like the Mormons. I like the BYU Cougars in this one at home. It's a night game, prime time. That crowd is going to be electric. It really will be. I think BYU finds a way to scratch and claw a win out here against Utah. I just think Utah got exposed against Texas Tech. And while they're still a really good team, don't get me wrong, they're still a really good team. I kind of just I want BYU to continue this whole magical season, man. 6-0, they moved to 7-0. I think they find a way to win this game. I do. That's just my honest opinion. BYU wins this game. They do. Give me that. On to the NFL. Okay, so I've decided the episode's gone on way too long. NFL we can be more brief with because again, the slates the last couple weeks haven't been great. This one's a little bit better. I don't like it that much. Start off right now, I got it on the TV actually. Steelers are facing the Bengals. They're up 10-0 right now in the second quarter. I personally had the Steelers winning this game. It's an old quarterback. It's Ben Roethlisberger versus Joe Flacco. I had the Steelers winning this game. They're up 10-0 right now, so it looks decent right now. But I got the Steelers winning this. Sunday morning in London, we've got the Rams at the Jags. My favorite team, obviously. I don't know how this one's going to go. Puka's probably out for the Rams, but the Jags are down Devin Lloyd. They're starting outside linebacker, who's putting up Defensive Player of the Year numbers so far this season. The Rams defense is still really freaking good. The Rams offense, it's going to find a way. It's Matthew Stafford. It's going to find a way. And Matthew Stafford, Devontae Adams, Tyler Higbee, Kyron Williams, they're going to find a way to score points. Obviously losing Puka for the weekend hurts. It would hurt anybody, but I think Matthew Stafford just finds a way. He just knows, man. They've been for the ringer. Him and Sean McVay, they just know. I think the Jags can win this game. I do think they have a path to it. I'm personally picking the Jags. I don't know what anybody else thinks. I don't know what America thinks, but I'm picking the Jags to win this game. Next one, Saints at Bears. Bleh. Give me the Bears. I think the Bears find a way to win this game. The Saints could. The Bears coming off a short week at home on Monday Night Football. Or, no, they were on the road, I think, on Monday Night Football, but now they're, at home, Sunday, 1 o'clock game. Could be a little bit of a sleeper. You know what I mean? Could be a little bit of a sleeper letdown game, so be aware. Spencer Rattler could just pop off, maybe. But I got the Bears for now. Dolphins at Browns. No. I'm not betting on this game. Loser fires their coach. How about that? Dolphins at Browns, loser fires their head coach. Patriots at Titans. This one's pretty cool. Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel returns to his old team, the Titans, that fired him after the 2023 season. So that's interesting. What makes it more interesting is Tennessee just fired their head coach, Brian Callahan, this week. So, in my opinion, a little bit of a coward's way out. You're facing your old head coach who you fired a year and a half ago and just, conveniently you fired your head coach right before the game. So I think it's a little coward's way out for the Titans. Patriots are 6.5 point favorites on the road. I think they win and cover this game. Raiders at Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs. I don't like Geno against the Chiefs defense. It's plain and simple. Eagles at Vikings is interesting, or it could be interesting. Carson Wentz starting for the Vikings, still facing his former team. But I just think the Eagles find a way to get back on track. They've been struggling lately offensively. I think they find a way to get back on track. I think the Eagles win this game on the road. They're 1.5 point favorites. Obviously, I think if they win, they cover that. I don't think they win by 1. I think Eagles win and cover. Panthers at Jets. This one's a little interesting. Carolina's 3-3. Jets are 0-6. And the Panthers are only 1.5 point favorites. Again, I think the road team win 2 games in a row. I think the road team wins and covers their 1.5 point spread. I think the Jets are going to give Panthers a really good punch. They're obviously they're going to come out and give it their all. They're 0-6. You have nothing else to play for other than to win and to keep your job. But I think the Panthers win this game. They're kind of sneaky decent this year, man. Bryce Young having a pretty good season. T-Mac, Ted McMillan, I like him. Rico Dowdle's going off while Chuba's hurt. Give me the Panthers to go 4-3. How about that? Over 500. Giants at Broncos. Look, the Jackson Dart Cam Scatterbo effect is real. They've beaten the Chargers and the Eagles since they've taken over as starting quarterback and running back. I just think Broncos and Mile High, I think it's a little too much for the Giants. I think they have a little bit of an off game. I think the Broncos win this game. They get back on track. They've kind of been sputtering a little bit as well. I think Bo Nix and the offense get a little bit back on track. I think the defense continues to suffocate. They lead the league in sacks, I'm pretty sure. I think they rattle Dart a little bit. But I think the Broncos win this game at home. Colts and Chargers, game of the week. Colts 5-1 at the Chargers 4-2. I'm excited for this one. Not just because for the Jags' sake, they need the Colts to lose. But this is going to be a really good game, dude. Colts traveling out west to L.A. We'll see how it goes. I honestly have no idea, but I think LA's down their 2 tackles. Colts have just been rolling, man. This is their first true test, in my opinion. They played the Broncos at home, and hell of a win. Absolutely amazing game, electric game. Hell of a finish to that game, too, with the missed field goal, and then they get called for the penalty. They re-kick it and make it. But this is your first true test. On the road, you're traveling out west to the West Coast. That's always tough for East Coast teams, it feels like. But this is it. Show us what you're made of, man. You know what I mean? Show us what you're made of. Jonathan Taylor, Indiana Jones, that defense. Go make some plays, man. I think for the Jags' sake, I want the Chargers. They're 1.5-point favorites. It's hard to bet against the Colts right now, though, dude. It really is. It's really hard to pick against the Colts in this one. I think I'm gonna go with Indy until proven otherwise. They're starting a gauntlet of a stretch. I touched on that last week. They're starting a gauntlet of a stretch. I think I'm going to pick Indy, though, in this one. Justin Herbert, please prove me wrong. Chargers down both those starting tackles. I really just think that's tough to overcome against a good team like Indy, but prove me wrong, Prove me wrong, Chargers. I got Indy in this one, though. Give me Indianapolis. Commanders at Cowboys. It's a pretty interesting game. I don't know who... I think Terry's out again, I'm pretty sure. So... if CD's back, give me Dallas. I think Dallas wins this game. At home, they just find a way. I think Dallas just finds a way to win this game at home. Packers at Cardinals, give me the Packers. The Cardinals had that whole weird they had a weird riff going on with Jonathan Gannon. He hit Imari DiMercado, I think his name is, on the sideline after fumbling the ball before the goal line. You're just dropping it. Bad look. The Cardinals find him. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from Arizona in terms of, I don't think it's good. I think the Packers win this game. I think Packers win this game against Arizona. Falcons at Niners. Really interesting game. Give me the Niners in this one. I think this should be a really good game. Michael Penix, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. I think they keep it close on the road in San Fran and Levi Stadium, but I give me the 49ers. Monday night, really good games, dude. Buccaneers at Lions and Texans at Seahawks. So Texans, another, AFC South team traveling out west. Obviously not as west because they're in Texas, but I'm going to go with my gut. Give me the Seahawks in that game because I need them to beat the Texans. I want the Texans season to be over so bad, dude. I hate the Texans, but give me the Seahawks in that game. I think they get a big home win against the Texans on Monday night. Lions at Bucks, dude. That's tough. That is really difficult. It's hard to get... Bucks at Lions. Sorry, Bucks at Lions. I give me the Lions. I think the Lions at home, they lost Sunday night against the Chiefs. Bucks had a really hard-fought victory against the Niners at home last weekend. I think the Lions desperately need a win more than the Bucks need a win. I think the Lions desperately need to avoid a loss more than the Bucks need a win. How about that? I don't know if that makes sense, but I think so. Give me the Lions in that one. I think the Lions find a way to win that game against the Bucks, and both those teams end up 5-2. But hey, that's my NFL picks. That's everything. Honestly, I went over NCAA, went over NFL. You guys had a lot of big Andy rants today. I'm sorry about that. Obviously, this is going long, so I'm sorry about that. If you guys don't like that, if you do, then you're welcome, I guess. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for staying this long if you're still listening. But hey, man, it's a fun weekend on tap for football. I cannot believe I'm turning 26. I also can't believe I have 10 subscribers on this YouTube channel. Also, again, tripling down. Cannot believe I got 300 views on a random video of me eating hot dogs. That's crazy. But thank you guys. Love y'all, and we'll see you next week. I'm going to try to get back to that two per week. I'm going out of town on Thursday, though, so may have to do some early eps. May have to do like a Tuesday, Wednesday combo. I don't know yet, but we'll see. I'll try to get 2 out for y'all. But love you guys. See you next time.